Hello, hello! Name's Anon. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am thrilled. I finally got some time to play Wizard of Legend. I just want to get right into it. Today, I'm bringing to you another themed special build. If you have followed the series so far, you would know, that today's build is going to feature 2 starter relics, one of which is going to be a cursed run modifier from outside of the game, if you want to. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Today's build is gonna be called Chaotic Situations, referring to both our second starter relic, which you will soon get to see, and the situations that we hope to find ourselves in over the course of the upcoming run. I love chaos. This is probably the masterpiece, the absolutely most clutterful build I have ever assembled. By clutter, of course, I mean a large variety of animations of different colors, of flashy things that grip your attention and hold it there and that make you not pay attention to other things. So clutter, when there's a lot going on screen at the same time, means that you won't be able to tell where enemies are going. Are they coming for your ass? Where are they currently at? Are they actually gonna attack you or something else? Are they currently stunned? Who is stunned? Who isn't? Who just started being unstunned? And so on and so forth. You won't be able to tell apart friend from foe. That's essentially what I'm gonna be going for here today. I love these kinds of builds. They artificially increase the difficulty by a huge margin when you can't tell what the fuck is going on at any given time. Of course, you're gonna start being sloppy and make mistakes, whether intentional or unintentional, whether just being lousy or completely being unable to actually see where enemies are. For example, let's take a slime on a later stage, right? A slime splits multiple times. You might not be able to tell whether a slime split or has died entirely. And then the tiny slimes you might not even be able to see at all in a given situation. So that's what we're going to be going for. Artificial difficulty increase. This is not mandatory by any means, I just really like doing it. And today's build, automatically, just using these 4 abilities, is gonna cause a lot of clutter on the screen, regardless of the enemies that you find yourself fighting. Alright, with that out of the way, I'd say let's get right into it. We are gonna stick with the traditional order today, as you do not need to know the second starter relic right away for the build to make any sense. So let's get right into it, starting with our rope, which is going to be the Fury rope. Now, the rope here is not going to be mandatory. In fact, you can pick whatever you like here. I strongly recommend a damage-related rope, nothing cooldown-related, as I will explain soon. The Fury rope increases your signature charge gain by 20%, and that's all we really care about here. It also increases your signature charge damage by a whopping 25%. But, as I said, this is not super important unless we actually manage to consistently generate a full signature bar to be able to use our signature ability. This is very hard to do for the particular build that we're going to be playing today, so I just wanted a little bit of extra signature charge gain, as we're going to be having plenty of cooldown reduction and just being able to use plenty of abilities and different combinations. So I do simply hope to generate plenty of synergy, well, that works too. Signature is, of course, what I meant to say. And find a plethora, maybe just a handful even, of signature enhancing items. Something like a Surefire Rocket would be fantastic, but a Family Seal for extra signature charge gain or a Volatile Gemstone would be absolutely awesome too. I am really hoping to find extra signature charge gain. If you prefer, you can of course go for something like an All Robe, or if you're a bit of a weirdo, for the Shift Robe, or just ditch all of them entirely and go for the safest pick with the Rule Robe instead for 10% extra damage and 10% extra armor. That's just a safe damage up. Very much unlike all the other ones I just mentioned. But that's really up to you. So, let's move on with something much more interesting. Starting with our first starting relic, it's going to be a miscellaneous item that I actually feel is miscellaneous, not a damage item for once, even though this would also fit in the damage category. I think this has found a place in here for sure. It's gonna be one of the books, so you already bet your ass this is going to be a summon related build, 100%. 100% for sure, my friend. It's going to be the Hardcover Textbook. One of the few items in this game that I would never consider as a starter relic in a regular run, nor in Boss Rush. I think this item sucks donkey dick. I think even in this build it's not very good, but we're gonna run it either way. So, if you haven't figured yet, this is not a mandatory starter relic either. You can pick whatever you like. Pick the Grimoire of Rune instead, for example, for extra damage up, for Summon Arcana, sorry. So the Hardcover Textbook, what's it do, you might ask? It increases the max number of active agents. Yes, only agents, not seekers, just agents. Not wards either, just agents. Alright, just agents for all Agent Arcana by 2. So whatever the maximum used to be, it's now that maximum plus 2. Say the maximum used to be 3, which I assume the default maximum per Arcana is. Every Arcana has its own maximum, so you use 4 different agents, each and every single one of them can summon up to that maximum number of agents, regardless of how many of the other agents you have summoned so far. So let's say I have a Lightning Agent, a Water Agent, and a Chaos Agent. I can summon 3 of each of those individually. Now I can summon 5 with the Hardcover Textbook. How would that ever happen, you might ask? And that's a great question, because cooldown reduction is so incredibly hard to come by, and you pretty much need to increase the duration these agents are active for this to ever even matter. So you need to find at least something like the Chaos Primer that spawns 1 extra of whatever summon you're summoning, and then something like that other book page related item, library related item, whatever it may be called, that increases the duration of your summons that are active. So how are we gonna proc this? We are going to try procking this with our second starter relic, which we will get to in a second. But let's first move on with the abilities. There is nothing super wild here or interesting. I just decided to run a default sort of high damage summon related build that also works with our second starter relic. Our basic is going to be Bladed Vine. You can run anything here that you like, that you are good at playing, good at using. I just decided to run this because I am very much used to it. I'm very comfortable with using this. I like it a lot, and the basic here, in my opinion, is supposed to be a crowd control tool. As with most summon related builds, these summons do the job for you, while you have to intervene occasionally, help them out, crowd control people, just keep them stun locked so your summons can burst them down for you. And this is just my default go-to Arcana. You don't see me using this a ton, but I personally, privately, off camera, do that quite a lot. Whenever I just don't really know what basic Arcana to use in a build, and I don't want the strongest one, usually I just want something that feels rewarding to pull off, this is absolutely my go-to, 100% of the time. This is a melee Arcana, but what makes it so good at crowd controlling large crowds of enemies? Well, it is essentially ranged. It has a huge range. It's a 3-hit Arcana, with each hit dealing 7, and the final hit, the third hit, that being dealing double the damage at 15 and having a much extended range. This pierces all enemies hit at a very large range for melee Arcana. It's a melee Arcana and a basic Arcana, so it can be easily enhanced with a Dark Katana, for example, with anything basic Arcana related, like Evening Gloves, for example. The enhancement deals great damage, even though it completely changes up the rhythm of how to keep enemies stun locked, in my opinion anyway. This is incredibly easy to use. Talking about the base version here, not about the enhanced version, just the base version of this ability. Very simple, braindead to use. Useful in any given situation, even deals decent damage into bosses. Huge coverage. It's essentially a very wide line-shaped skill shot, looking like so. Also, huge knockback, but also kind of keeps enemies stunned inside of the area, doesn't just knock them out of it. Look at that signature charge gain as well. It's great. I really, really like this a lot. So as aforementioned, you might not want to enhance this for your build if you are not comfortable using the enhanced version yet. If you're having a hard time in your run, don't upgrade it. Only do it if you have a lot of spare money and nothing better to spend it on. This is just a good damage upgrade. as it makes the final hit, the final tendril as it's called here, or rather the final vine, strike more often. I believe it hits 3 times on the final hit, so boop boop. And then 1, 2, 3 at this max intended range with the max intended damage, but I believe also the damage per hit is slightly nerfed. So it changes up the use of this Arcana drastically. And if you're not feeling comfortable with that, fine. You may want to consider picking another basic Arcana. I strongly suggest another crowd controlling Arcana like Riptide if you're a weirdo. Again, if you like Shift Rope, you probably like Riptide. It's so odd. Frostblade, even though it's charged. Aqua Arc. Flame Strike, again, this is charged. Or Chaos Reaper, again, this is charged. But all of these charged Arcana, generally speaking, have a huge cleaving ability, or rather they always hit in a cone in front of your character at the bare minimum, which makes crowd controlling enemies just incredibly easy, and they usually apply some sort of status effect, at least when enhanced. So do all of these. So go for whatever you feel like. To me, it's definitely got to be Bladed Vine, just for the versatility alone, the range, the damage, the piercing, the upgrade, and the feel-goodness of it. So let's move on to our dash, which is my default dash for any given situation. It's Magma Rush. This I pick whenever I don't need a dash that fulfills a certain function, even though this does fulfill a certain function. So, say I don't need a dash that envelops me and makes me untouchable for a handful of seconds, like Ignition Rush. Say I don't need a dash that's just a line skill shot, essentially, like Searing Rush. Say I don't need a dash to deal damage, like a Flare Rush, and I don't need a dash to knock enemies into pits, with something like a Wavefront. I won't need a dash to just dash through walls, teleport through them with Chaotic Rift. I just need a dash to deal decent damage. I don't need it to proc extra evasion, or make me slightly more tanky, or give me more versatility. I just need anything at all to deal slightly more damage, and that I can just place somewhere and completely forget about it. It does its job decently enough for me to not have to worry about this at all. It can be upgraded if I want to. It's not mandatory. It's not a burden. It's the de facto standard good dash. That's Magma Rush for me. Anyway, so you leave a bit of a mind behind when you dash in the location that you initially dashed from, like so. This mine has an AoE around it, a circle that is quite visible as long as there are no enemies nearby. And as soon as enemies move into the circle, whether forcefully, so you push them in there, pull them in there, or individually by themselves, I suppose, independently from your character, this will start to chase them down. It's a very slow moving projectile, but nonetheless, it will start to hunt them down. At the end of its expiration, at the end of its, the duration, it expires to explode in the drawn out area, regardless of whether it is still chasing someone down or whether it is just sitting still. It explodes, it deals a huge chunk of damage, it burns everything in range. This works greatly when stylishly trying to open chests that are off screen. I really, really love using this. And as I said, you just deploy it somewhere, you make enemies walk through it, or you just leave it there. Really, who cares? It doesn't necessarily have to have an immediate impact. It has a very short cooldown, deals great damage, and it deals AoE damage, like so. So it can be used as a combo piece as well. It can be used as a status effect applicant. There are just so many uses for it. It's fantastic. I really love this a lot. Now, the enhancement, on the other hand, not so much. Whereas I might use this to block up a corridor, like so, for example. The enhancement has a larger range and a longer duration. So, whereas I might have previously tried using this as a stylish tool to open a chest, now I have to wait a lot longer for it to do that for me. It has a larger range, meaning that it procs a lot earlier. It always starts to hunt down the first enemy seen, so that might not be what you want in that situation. You might enemies to want to climb up. You might want enemies to climb up in this corridor, just walking into it, like some sort of filter, right? You want them all to stray in here, one by one, and they might be running at you with different speeds. So if this procs on the first enemy hit, it might just explode on them immediately, not hitting any of the other enemies with its huge AoE and great damage. So I would strongly advise that you consider whether or not you really want to spend 100 gold on an enhancement that barely does anything. It doesn't increase the damage, it just increases the duration and the AoE. And in my opinion, that's a very terrible upgrade. You really don't want to have that. A lot of times, if you are opting for extra damage from an item like Luxury Handbag, or you want to unenhance it to gain extra damage, sure, do it if you have the gold, but only then. Otherwise, you are way better off just buying another underwhelming damage relic, for example, or even just a defense relic or utility relic. In my opinion, this is absolutely not the enhancement you should strive to acquire. But moving on with our agents, our summons here. The meat and potatoes of this build are going to be, first, our standard Line Shock agent, an agent I pretty much never use because I feel like it's very overpowered. It is incredibly strong. Now, usually, I really like using melee, crowd control related stuff, and this thing does it all. It's not even melee. It's not risking its ass for applying damage and crowd control. It's far range. Line skill shot related. Always targets the first enemy in sight, so the closest enemy, but then also all other enemies that happens to be in the range of the skill shot, being in this line of electrified current, they're gonna take a massive load of damage. This deals great damage. You summon 2 of these at a given time for fantastic damage. This can be easily enhanced with any base damage increases, with any summon damage increases, for example, like the Grimoire, the aforementioned tool that you might want to use alternatively to our starting relic. I believe this thing is entirely nuts. It has such a huge potential. It is ranged with a massive range. Just look at that line's range. Now, whereas I could previously with melee agents, for example, walk out of the room and walk far away from the enemies, as there's always a tether between you and your summons, your agents, they try to follow you. They have to be in your range at any given time. They have to be able to see you, so to speak. So you could just walk off screen and pull them back with you automatically. They would let go of the enemies and run after you, essentially like a loving dog, for example, right? You can't really do that with these, as they have a huge range, and while walking away from enemies, obviously they will start walking towards you, and this range can shoot enemies not quite off-screen, but basically it can. This thing has a massive range, and they will just not let go of enemies. They don't have to. They have great range. So, as soon as you have deployed them, just know that they will proc any and everything they strike, including stuff like explosive barrels, like chests. You may not want that, you may not want them there, killing that certain enemy, opening the chest yet, or doing whatever else. So, for whatever reason, you can't exactly pull them back. Once they are deployed, they're deployed. You can't do anything about that, and you better not try running away because it's not really gonna work. Realistically, most of the time, it does not work. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, fantastic tool for dealing damage. It is going to be one of our 2 main tools here, in fact, to carry us through the course of this run. It doesn't shock, though. A little bit of a bummer. Not a huge fan of that. In fact, I love status effects generally, but it deals fantastic damage. Any line-wide skill shot, 2 line-wide skill shots, in fact, and they can easily burst down a single target too. They stay away from bosses just far enough usually to not be hit, but as with all agents, eventually they will be hit by an almost screen-wide attack that you really can't reckon with, that you really can't control your agents during. So, in boss fights, generally, you always want to wait for bosses to be, say, 75% done with all their attacks, and then you can cast your agents. They usually have enough health to out-sustain the final attack, or the final 2 attacks, the penultimate and the ultimate attack of the boss, and then damage them while they are attacking you, right? And then keep being active and damage the boss while they are having their down phase. Also, they help with stunning the boss. So, say the boss is in the middle of doing their attacks, you cast it at like 75 or 80% of their attacks being done, completed, fully cast, however you want to put it, and then they are usually in range of the boss, immediately counting as having hit the boss and stunning them just a little longer. In case you didn't know, if you don't stun an enemy, while it is having a downtime after just having attacked for a while, it will just come right back up. So you have to stun them to and lengthen that duration at least a little bit, allowing for you to have a slightly larger window of opportunity to hit them. Now when enhanced, I haven't mentioned that yet, this is insane. It gets a double DPS increase. So first of all, the streams last longer. Longer duration means automatically higher damage output because the DPS part, the S part in damage per second, the seconds are increased. So naturally, the damage is increased too. And the base damage is increased. So the D part is also increased. Fantastic! Double damage increase on one Arcana? Count me the fuck in. I love this. Mandatory. You need that immediately. You want it as soon as possible. Absolutely love it. And then finally, for our second damaging tool, we got, of course, what else could it be? The only summon-related, unfortunately, signature in the entirety of this game, Null Flash Agent. Essentially exactly the same ability, just with chaos. So it isn't strong against water, it isn't weak against lightning or earth, it's not affected by any elemental affixes, and it counts as any given element. So say you have an elemental chest with 2 lightning, it requires 2 lightning. If you somehow ever manage to make your agents hit that chest, in case you didn't know, they won't ever target chests. They can only target living, breathing animals. Sorry, not animals, enemies. Of course, what I meant to say. Woof! Oh boy. So, if you ever manage to make your lightning ability hit that, that counts as the first lightning. But you need a second, a different lightning ability. And if you don't happen to have one, the chaos can function as one element, any one element. It isn't set in stone. So first I might use it for lightning on the chest, and then I might use it for fire on another chest. It just works like that. It's also a Chaos Arcana. It's enhanced, can be unenhanced, but it's a signature, so we don't care much about that. Also, Chaos means it has naturally a lot higher damage output than any other abilities in the game, and it doesn't have any downsides at all, except if you consider downside that it isn't strong against any particular elements. Looks like so, very long range, even more long range than your lightning ability if I'm not mistaken. My god, this thing deals insane damage, 10 damage a tick, you get 2 of them, so go figure, do the math. This thing has also a rather short cooldown compared to the Line Shock Agent. Or do they have the same cooldown? It's kind of hard to tell. They do have the same cooldown actually. So never mind, I was talking horseshit on that one. But this is generally a lot stronger than the Line Shock Agent. The Line Shock Agent hits consistently for a short period of time, rather frequently, keeping enemies stun locked, while this just bursts them down. It's the fists that come down on the ground to stomp everything into the ground. I know fists don't stomp things into the ground, just hear me out, alright? It works for this example. Shush! I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear judgment. So, Null Flash Agent, fantastic damage-wise. Essentially exactly the same as Line Shock Agent, just a lot more on the damage-heavy side of things. Can be even more easily enhanced. While the Line Shock Agent might scale better with something like crit chance, the Null Flash Agent straight up has very high base damage. You don't really need to make it any better. You don't really need any relics or enhancements to make this any stronger than it already is. Though any of those that you find, for example, if you were to find any of the other library-related, summon-related relics, for example, one that allows you to summon +1 summons of whatever summon you use every time you use it, or to just increase the duration of them, increase the damage of them, make them heal on kill. Any of those are immensely powerful with the Null Flash Agent. It is, however, not an explosive fireball. It might hit very often, but it can be killed. It is an entity after all. Agents generally, essentially, count as an extra entity, an extra player to your enemies. And enemies always target the closest enemy of them. So if your summon is closer to them than you are, they will focus down that summon. It's not really as huge of an issue here as with other builds, as I stated previously, as these are not melee Arcana. These are generally far behind you. They outrange you almost always. So you will almost always be closer to enemies, but Just in case you're not, you can intervene and interrupt enemies from trying to kill your summons. And even then, you still have a line shock agent right there, stunning those enemies, and the Nullfish finishing them off at the same time. So, do you really have to be concerned about that with this build? I don't think so. I highly doubt it. So regardless, that's a lot of trivia about summons. Let's look at the signature. The reason why we are running the Fury Robe for slightly higher potential to ever generate a full signature bar, as I found that incredibly rough on a summoning build. Looks like so. It's just the Disco Ball of Doom. And you can have as many of these as you want. These don't have a maximum, seemingly. I can have 3, I can have more. The book doesn't affect that at all. I did test it out previously. Just look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? Oh my god, the damage on those minions in the corner. Those tiger dummies. They're just getting demolished. I just want to see the health come back. Whoo! 1500! That's insane! That is completely nutty. Of course, that is unrealistic unless you find somehow every single signature item in the game and can then still generate enough signature with pretty much only your basic or maybe any additional support Arcana that you might have come across. I believe it's very unlikely that you will ever see a full signature. But if you can, just look at that potential. It's nutty. It is absolutely disgusting. Also, as these are all agents, I feel like I need to reiterate on this. Agents make you not waste any time with unnecessary things like having to aim at an enemy, having to consider who to hit. No, just cast them, and they do the thinking for you by not thinking at all. They just hit whatever is closest, hit it as hard as they can, pretty much never miss at all, as these are essentially just homing abilities that shoot for an extended period of time entirely for free, without a downside, except, well, they have a rather long cooldown, but that's not really a downside when they have a rather long uptime as well. So regardless, very cool. If you don't like summons, I hope at the end of this run you're gonna have changed your mind. Let's move on to the second starter relic before we move on with the build specifics here. So this could be an absolute pain in the ass to find, as there are only ever 4 starter relics in here, and they only rotate, as there is no reset button or function in this game, when you return to this area. So we are going to have to teleport a whole bunch. The other day, I know I said that in the last video, but just in case you haven't watched it, the other day I reset for a good 30 to 40 times before I was able to find the one item that I was looking for. I had been looking for the entire time. We found it though. What was that? 3rd attempt? 4th attempt? This is the Chaotic Pendulum, which significantly lowers cooldowns for players and enemies. Significantly meaning by 75%. 3/4. That is nuts! But also increases enemy damage and speed by 25%. We don't care a lot about that. Not a whole lot. No, I don't think. As long as they only attack our Arcana, don't really care about them hitting us, so to speak, as we are not immediately receiving the damage. It's usually our Arcana. We can make these tank if we want to. We don't have to risk our ass, alright? Just leave them in a room and stay behind them and just watch the world burn. So, 75% cooldown reduction. That means I can cast these at a roughly 4-second cooldown, having multiple of them active. Look at that! Look at that! Look at this! It's like a whole kindergarten behind me. That is ridiculous. I love this. This is gonna be so much freaking damage. Now you have to still watch out where you deploy them. They always try to stick close to you, especially when no enemies are inside. So if you just climb them up like this and then walk into a room and there's a stomper and it stomps where you used to be to your initial location, it might just kill all of them in a hit. So be a little bit smart at least and walk away from enemies. Don't be a total damage. You will see what I mean in a second, because I'm definitely bound to screw up here a handful of times. I am not very much used to playing with these, especially with this level of cooldown reduction. That is quite insane. So before we get into the run, we still have to move on with this. Sorry, but next is going to be the intended build. Playstyle. You want to be defensive. Now your things are already aggressive for you. You can spam your dash, for example. Just spam it everywhere for extra damage. And then you can intervene whenever necessary other than that. But you really don't have to do a lot. Just jam Y, jam B, jam those sweet, sweet agents, jam the Magma Rush whenever applicable to a given room. Assuming that the room is large enough for you to just randomly dash around. Or you could also just stand against the wall and keep spamming this. If that makes you any happier, that works too. Then make a bunch of enemies walk inside. Just have fun however you want to, really. But mostly this is all about button mashing and just watching everything be blown to smithereens. It's just that easy. It's quite fun. So your agents are aggressive for you, but meanwhile you can be as passive as you want. You can also intervene whenever necessary, though for this one, unlike any other summoning builds, I don't think it's gonna be super necessary. The summons are independently extremely strong, and since your cooldowns are so short, you don't exactly have to worry about them just randomly dying. Though again, keep in mind these are summons. Don't just position them in a way that makes them be killed before they can even spawn. Don't put them inside of a boss attack, inside of a ranger attack, for example. Don't do it! It's stupid! Unless you need them to soak a bunch of damage for you. But there are better damage sponges than a bunch of very expensive, very high damage summons. Okay? Keep that in mind. Moving on to the potential problems. Damage could be an issue. Damage being dealt by us right out of the gates. You want slightly more damage. With summoning builds generally speaking, this is already a very high damage powerful summoning build, but more damage always helps just killing bosses off that much faster. Cooldown reduction usually will be an issue. It's obviously not. You don't need any more cooldown reduction. I don't think it really affects you gravely. I did fiddle around with a bunch of other cooldown reduction related starter relics, like 20% extra cooldown reduction from Matosi's broken pocket watch, I believe it's called. But they barely affected the gameplay at all, if at all. So yeah, you don't need that at all. Just go for extra damage in whatever shape, way, or form. Though I much prefer base damage increases to these abilities, as you can just jam your abilities. It makes every single ability in your toolkit be that much more powerful. Crit chance, likewise, in this build, definitely works well. You do already come with all the cooldown reduction pre-installed, or pre-upgraded. So why not grant a bunch of crit chance to all your abilities so you can just deal that much more damage all the time. I don't think you're gonna be needing a lot of defense though. Something like an extremely strong defensive item, like a mirror shield that entirely negates one attack, like a Kasim's Eric Cloak that entirely negates or has the potential to entirely negate a slew of attacks after being hit once, or a Limo Sleeve that can negate any attack, theoretically, as long as you are skillful enough to wield it. These incredibly powerful defensive items, yes, they are great, but picking something like a calcifying bone mail, which otherwise would be fantastic, when you already take 25% increased damage from all sources, not the greatest defensive item. You still take a shit ton of damage, even though it gives you 20% armor if you take enough hits consecutively. It's not very powerful. Instead, I strongly recommend giving yourself items that immediately have an effect on your gameplay, that grants you immediate 20% armor, not just calcifying bone mail effects that require you to be hit many times all over. A Stygian turtle shell is just as useless in my opinion. You don't want Sano's headband either, ideally, because yes, it makes enemies not be able to stun lock you into attacks, but at the same time, if you are quite inexperienced at this game, you might think that you haven't even been hit in the first place, falsely, and then keep standing in the attack instead of moving away. If you are more experienced, Sano's is fantastic. It's incredibly powerful. But if you're new to the game, strongly, from my personal experience and judgment, I will recommend you don't run it immediately. Just pay attention to your health bar and not being hit for now. So run items that help you with that, then grant you evasion while dashing, like a Limo Sleeve, like the painting parts. They are fantastic, generally speaking. Other than that, signature charge is fantastic. If you can get a hold of it, can be kind of hard sometimes. So yeah, you have plenty of avenues to go down here. Any any road you like, pretty much. Just do whatever you feel like, except just know that the cooldown reduction is already there, so please don't buy any cooldown reduction. It's pointless. It doesn't help you pretty much at all. And then finally, for my favorite section, recommended items and Arcana. I strongly recommend anything very powerful. Exclusively very powerful items for this one, so you can just destroy everything immediately. I'm talking about things like Double Trouble, which has a massive impact on your gameplay, as you will be taking way too much damage. If you ever get hit, you're pretty much dead immediately. But this is not about winning a run. This is about potential and watching the world burn and just have a good jolly time destroying everything for as long as you possibly can with your glass cannon build. And Double Trouble perfectly envelops all of those ideas. It canalizes them, and yeah, quite frankly, just channels it streamlines your gameplay. You just destroy everything from that point onward. It doesn't matter what items you've picked up before. Pretty much just get a Double Trouble and you're good to go. You get a luxury handbag, for example. Any huge damage increases, any huge armor increases that give you 20%, like the golden cursed armors, for example, like Midas items. I like all of those a lot. The helmet and the dagger in particular, increasing both your, respectively, your armor for the helmet or your damage dealt, proportionally to the amount of gold you're currently carrying. You need 500 gold to max out on those for 20% of the respective buff. So those are incredibly powerful too. You don't need many items. You just need a few select very powerful items for this one. Healing is also one. I like the gem locket box, whatever the hell it's called. So whenever you pick up a gem, it will heal you. That's fantastic. You love also items like the J-Jewel Tiara, which increases your damage proportionally to the amount of gems carried, though I'm not going to be running it in this run. I only have 557 currently. Or the defensive equivalent, that is the necklace. No clue what it's called. That increases your armor and heals you whenever you pick up a gem. So those very busted effects are incredibly strong for this build, for obvious reasons. And then personally, I mean, items are fantastic, don't get me wrong, but I especially love Arcana with this one. Just get more summons. For the love of God, they have essentially no cooldown. Just get more summons, more books, more ways to get more summons. Get Seekers even though Seekers are gonna be insane with this one, even though they might not one-shot, they might not be nearly as impressive as agents, but even they are very strong, where they essentially have their cooldown stripped entirely. I love abilities that otherwise are also incredibly broken, like Permafrost Bulwark makes you invulnerable for a short period of time. Also deals a huge chunk of damage to anything close by, and any jumps that already give you iframes and all of the versatility you could ever ask for. Huge damage numbers on the base damage, now with essentially no cooldown, so infinite iframes. There you go, just jump back and forth, unable to be dealt any damage whatsoever. Also killing everything in the process, dodging all the attacks in the process. If you have always wanted to do that, if you've always dreamt of that, first of all, why would you do it in a chaotic pendulum run? You literally only need double toil for that. But second of all, yeah, there you go, you can do it now. Just don't ever be hit. Don't ever fuck up inside of a boss's attack. You're gonna die. 25% extra damage is a huge chunk. That having been said, thank you very much for listening. Amen, brother. Let's get into the run. Let's grab our money. I don't think I want to avoid anyone. I have plenty of different elements, so without further ado, I think I get everything packed up. Let's go. Lightning, wind, and earth. A big fan of the lightning and earth here. Not so much of the wind. I would very much prefer being able to get past the second dungeon over the course of this run. 25% extra damage. That's a lot of damage taken. We're gonna have to cope a lot in this one. Okay. Let me just take a sip before getting this started. I'm a little nervous here. I might just screw up immediately. I am quite out of practice. Just a little bit of clear water to clear my throat and my hat. And then let's go. Now, one thing I do like doing is to preemptively use an Arcana before heading into a room. It's great. It makes a lot of sense. Especially since they don't have a cooldown. Use it earlier, before heading into rooms, so you won't be stuck in that room with enemies, with waves of blood-hungry, vicious enemies coming your way, trying to kill you immediately and being potentially incredibly fast. You might not have the time to stand still and proc your ability. Shoot over here, shoot over here, shoot over here, shoot over here. Come on! Shoot over here! Yes! Nice! Cool. Royal Jelly is garbage, but we got a little bit of, what, gems? Money, probably. Royal Jelly means that healing potions don't ever decline in quality. They will always heal for 200 HP, period. Not powerful, unless you are very new to the game, but even then you need the money to use healing pots. Kinda hard to do, eh? Definitely not trivial to a beginner. Just stand here, watch them kill everything, not willing to deal with any of this shit. Just have a bit of a snack over here. And don't let them bother you. Oh my god, the damage! That lamp just blew the fuck up. Now we have to be just a little bit close to them so they can keep destroying our foes. Can't walk away too far, otherwise they will try and follow us. Oh yeah, feels good. I feel like the music is cutting out. I feel like there are so many sound effects that the music is starting to cut out entirely. Oh yeah, Ebon Wolf's Cloak. That would make us deal more fire and lightning damage, but less of all other kinds of damages, so not particularly powerful with this one. Not a huge fan. Come on. Jump, 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 jump. Hey, would you look at that? The other Pendulum for more cooldown reduction. I was considering running both as some sort of gag, running both the Pendulums in the game, but what's the point? 75 is plenty. Cooldown reduction. You don't need any more than that. Super Carrot Cake is a viable pickup, in my opinion. If you do take damage frequently, it allows for you to potentially grab a what's it called again? Dependable Cake, I believe. Yeah, the Dependable Cake later. So you combine this with the respective Spiked Armor Kit, I believe it's called, the cursed item, and boom, you get health regen. It's not super powerful, but if you do take damage a lot, it does make a whole lot of sense running that. Now, I really enjoy, so far, I have been enjoying making my summons tank for me. I feel like that might be a viable strat for the majority of dungeons here. Just stand over here, make some coffee, have a good wank while looking at this spectacle. Oh yes. Of course, we find the most worthless upgrade right away. Fine by me. And then I'd say let's just move on. Don't really need any of those per se, so moving on. I'm gonna drop the Ebon Wolves on every stage just so I deal more damage and not less damage. But I'm gonna keep it so I can sell it later. Potentially, anyway. There's no guarantee to find Grandma, after all. Okay. All is well. What an absolute clusterfuck. Now, if you want the ultimate chaos, just stay inside the middle of a room, like so. And cast your stuff and just watch everything go everywhere. And oh my god, so many flashes. I am used to this. Believe it or not, I am used to all this by now. I've played so many summon builds lately that I can tell apart what's happening here, for the most part anyway. But someone who's rather new to the game, I can strongly relate to this being an absolute clusterfuck of animations and attacks of all kinds. We don't have neither friend nor foe. It's just everything melting together. Let's go, artillery! Just watch out for them jumping. Because while they're jumping, they have iframes. Yep, go for those summons. Ooh. Memory Chainmail requires for us to take damage of a specific kind, and then reduces the damage of that specific kind. For example, I take water damage. I believe it would reduce the water damage. But generally speaking, I think it is incredibly bad. The only damage that I am realistically interested in mitigating is the damage from a boss attack, because in a boss fight, the boss only casts damage of that element. And physical damage, otherwise. Literally, everywhere else, I would strongly favor reducing regular damage, not elemental damage. Non-elemental damage, in fact. I think I have to pick up the double trouble here. I owe you, dear viewer. I was praising it so highly regarding it in the intro. Of course I'm gonna take it. And of course I'm gonna fuck up in some way. Inevitably so. That's the fun part. Can't pick double trouble without dying like an idiot. What do you think I am? An idiot? I think that's the dash. Yeah, don't care about that one. Already taken a fair chunk to my health bar here. Rather a fat chunk, not a fair chunk. Fuck that. Who said it's fair? Blow up the barrels. Alright. Oh, I missed one somehow. 84%, do we full clear? I mean, why not? What could happen, right? We don't have to be super wary of regular melee range enemies, unless they are elemental knights, in which case, yes, they can jump across us, causing plenty of trouble, but otherwise we don't have to be concerned about them too much. We do have to be concerned about enemies like lancers and rangers and mages with their ranged attacks that are not that easy to dodge in the middle of a clusterfuck, so... Nothing super interesting in here. So Wallet is usually good, but with the double trouble I take double damage from picking up stuff, trading my health for items. So I can estimate that every single item costs at least 200 health, which is worth one entire healing potion. Plus, probably the added disadvantage from taking 25% extra damage. So this would probably kill me immediately. Blades of Sympathy seems like a decent item because I don't have to be attacking myself. My summons can do that for me. Just whenever I'm hit, make summons attack enemies to restore some HP. Seems reasonable to me. I'm trying to dissuade them from attacking my summons by moving closer to the enemies there. Let's pick back up the Evanwolf's Close. I really can't tell today than what it is. Having quite a bunch of trouble, probably because I'm quite out of practice. I haven't played for a considerable period of time. Or rather, I haven't recorded. Recording is the issue, not playing. Talking fluently while playing is quite difficult. Quite a difficult skill to learn. I'm all down for it though. Oh shit. Oh my god, look at that healing! But also look at the damage taken. Or rather, don't look at the damage taken, just look at that apparent healing that we are netting. Alright, there we go. Barely any damage taken. Considering how much damage we do actually take, that was really not a whole lot. All thanks to the regenerative powers of whatever item is called. Right, it's called Blades of Sympathy. I'll just call it item X for the future, because I happen to never remember its name for some reason. There are just some very unmemorable names in this game, I suppose. And this is definitely one of them for me, personally anyway. Heartrender's Amulet, a lot more money from the Alchemist's Stone. Alchemists could be really powerful with the Royal Jelly, so I'm definitely picking that up. No doubt in my mind. Also, then, the fact that I am lacking the maximum amount of gems means that not only do gems give me more gems, contribute to that number that doesn't really do anything over the course of your average run, but also do I get money off of picking them up, which is nice. And that means that items that increase the gem find, or the gem generation, I suppose, like the gem locator, for example, are gonna be a lot more handy, a lot more viable, so the remainder of this run, because they mean more money, not just more useless currency that I can't do anything with. Oh, the wheel is gonna be very fun, just being able to spam that in the middle of rooms. This is a great crowd control tool, essentially a second signature, as it covers essentially an entire room. Like so. Also great for clearing up obstacles. Can't do it through the wall, apparently. Very annoying. I dare even say embarrassing. Come on. Oh, come on, boy. Hello healing, hello money. Hello upgrades. Everyone is here now, huh? Keep in mind that the slightest bit of a gust of wind could kill me. But also, I pretty much obliterate everything I look at. Alright, that is quite useless. Lowers the cooldown of movement-based abilities. Really don't care much about that, even though it does lower the cooldown of my Blazing Lariat. I don't need cooldown reduction. I hate this room. I hate these enemies, period. I think when I started the game, I thought these were incredibly busted. I still believe they are a menace to deal with, but I wouldn't say they are unfair. Once you've gotten the hang of the game and you've understood that there are essentially no iframes in this game, okay? Enemies can stunlock you, and they will do so if you don't do anything about it. I feel like they become much fairer enemies. You just have to find a way to deal with them, to kite them around, to group them up, and then hit all of them. And yes, that can be very tough to do, but that's kind of the challenge of this game, right? There's got to be some sort of challenge. If not a self-imposed challenge like this one. This can probably only remotely be called a challenge. I am definitely not going in there. Right. Oh my god, yes! What does that do again? Cooldown? Reduce cooldown? Alright, that's the most useless one. Thank you. Nonetheless, it's a book and a Midas item and a rope to make me take much less damage. Oh boy! Could also take this for 5% damage up, 10% with the double trouble. But no thanks. Now I have 2 items to sell. I've been rocking the Ebonwolf's Cloak the entire time. Which, yes, it works for my dash, it works for the Line Shark agent, but it works against the Null Flash, if I'm not mistaken. So I should have dropped that for a little extra damage. Should do it now. Even though I do use Blazing Lariat a lot, yeah. And I don't care a whole lot about the Null Flash agent. I still feel like this overall decreases my damage dealt. That feels like a very subjective, just wrong statement, but I don't have any evidence to prove nor neglect it, so I'm just gonna stick with my gut feeling. Oh, did not mean to do that. I meant to destroy the shield here. So much extra healing. Make a bunch of bombs where I'm at, so if the thief ever manages to teleport to me or one of my summons, he will be stun locked into oblivion. Or most likely killed immediately. Hello, you guys! Welcome back, friendly bracelet. I don't think I care about any of these items. So I'm probably better off just skipping the entire farm. Thank you, very convenient. Woo! So much damage. Hello, Sparkling Sprite. No, I can't stack you. Probably would have found some on the last stage. Well, I guess I will try and complete it for some potential loot and fun stories, I suppose. My god, so much shit going on here. I love it. Do I know what's going on? No. Do I have to? No, I don't. Absolutely fucking not, boy. I would love a mirror shield, so I can occasionally eat a projectile and not have to worry about positioning. Not that I would otherwise. I really don't care about my positioning here. It's just a matter of, do I want to die randomly at some point due to my own stupidity? Yay or nay? Attack them through the wall. Oh yeah. Ah yeah. Stompers or Summoner Stompers? Come on. Come on. Oh wow. They actually killed it. Keep them coming. The Agent Factory. I need some conveyor belts in here. Make them shoot into the room slightly faster. Long ass way to go. Always annoying when this happens. No portal anywhere in sight. Hello Iris, let's get the fuck out of here. Not sure about the Ebonwolf. I probably missed it somewhere. I really don't care. Yeah, it seems I dropped it and I forgot about it. Don't care. At least now it's not a burden any longer. I really want all my abilities to deal good damage. Not one to deal slightly less damage and the others to deal a lot more damage. I know it doesn't make sense, but hear me out. Hear me out. Favoritism? Not in here, boy. Not in here. Oh my god! That's a melee agent. Oh, look at this fucking zoo. I need a macro to press all these keys fast. Holy crap! 92 basic damage. New record! I don't remember ever using my basic during that fight, but... Alright! Fair enough, I suppose. And of course it's the wind agent too, so it's gonna be super effective in here. Just press buttons. And hope that none of them are projectiles being reflected back in me. I'm just over here playing a different game, like Guitar Hero or some shit. I'm just over here playing Ozu. Holy crap shoot, dude. I am literally only looking at my ability icons, and that's it. Just looking at the cooldowns, pressing buttons. Hello? They overran him! No chance! Alright, just keep spamming so I can all of them up. Due to the fact that these agents are ranged, they also don't fall into pits and die immediately when I cast them into pits. Quite the conundrum. But oh well, what can you do? Range is just better for like 20 different reasons. It's not just the range, man. Oh, 2 painting parts. And 1 very good damage up with the Chaos Scanner so I can actually see how fast things are dying. Great. Getting the painting parts, as these are just massive damage and signature charge increases. Chaos Scanner is awesome. I really, really love that. Getting that 100% is just so satisfying to watch everything crumble to dust. Being able to see enemy health bars, it just should be an option. It shouldn't be an item, but the fact that it is an item makes me all the more happier to see it. I'm buying that shit pretty much every single time I can. Hello, Permafrost Bulwark. Yeah, no, I don't think we need to be any more broken. Even though it would be awesome, just as a finisher. Way better than the Lariat. Lariat is a damage tool. We use it as a damage tool, we don't need it any longer. The Permafrost, on the other hand, is just completely nutty against bosses, which is all we should really care about at this point. Claws are a joke to us. Just spam more. Hello! Alright, moving on. Hello, Atlas. I'm coming for that booty. Wish I had a key to speed things up. Just looking against the wall, spamming my dash and my other abilities. That's gameplay for you. But it is certainly fun. Holy fucking crap, dude. I'll be ready for the lancers. Hello, everyone. Is anyone hunting? Ah, I can't talk today. I should stop trying to crack some cheeky comments. I can't talk today, man. It's kinda tough. It's like I need speech therapy again. One day everything's fine. I'm not overworked or anything. And the next, under the same or rather similar conditions, I am unable to crack a single sentence. I'll try again, just for the sake of it. Hello, everybody. Is anyone hungry? Y'all want some food? Eat them! Eat them up! Devour them alive! Not a bone in their body left. Holy shit. Alright, hello. Miss Useless, I don't need you. Fuck off, thank you. Fuck off kindly, thank you very much. Another Sprite, I'll take it. They stack, they look fancy. There you go. Don't need any more of a reason. Anti-freeze is nice against Sura. I hate being frozen, I hate having to watch out for that attack, as it keeps you stun locked easily, and it's not that easily dodgeable. Unless you pay close attention, which I barely ever do, so... I do like anti-freeze, I'm probably gonna fetch that and toss something like the boiled gel, some shite. Just gonna get it now. What do I toss? What do I toss? Anything else in here? Well, just the royal jelly. From what I can tell, let's find Nox real quick. Of course it's gotta be Nox, not Cremar. It wouldn't possibly be Cremar, right? There's no way that Karma would find its way. Or rather, irony, it's not Karma, it's just... Or is it Karma? I left the poor item behind all by itself. In an empty dungeon at that too, so it doesn't really have any enemies to kill. Gets bought. Poor Ebonwolf's cloak. You will be missed. Not really, to be honest. I barely, a difference is barely notable. I don't think you've really improved my build by any means, so... Sorry, not sorry? I just cast the ones that I know are not projectiles and finish them off, who cares? Clean up, boys. The show's over. Pack up, we gotta go. Dr. Song, fuck you. I mean, I can at least buy some here. Maybe a damage up. It's not, it's just a bunch of measly healing. It's not bad. It's decent. I don't think I'll need it. I'll keep the slightly more useful defensive item. Instead, ooh, 9905. That's a number, for sure. That is surely one of the numbers, if I've ever seen one. The Other Lord, Atlas. Come on, let me spam my shit. We really don't care about the not spamming rule. No spamming, not in here. We got 75% corner reduction. I can spam all day, as long as I want. Shut the fuck up. Who are you to tell me not to spam? How dare you? It's really just mashing buttons. It is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Oh my god. Now, in case you didn't know, because I never mentioned this, but also because you just might not know naturally. Hey, another summon, would you look at that? It's Seekers though, so not super impactful or anything. What I was gonna say, you can't take these extraterrestrial run modifiers into the secret third phase Seraph fight. They will immediately vanish the second you start the fight. So, be wary of that, I guess. Don't try that. I did too. You can't cheat the fight that way. Look at that damage though. Wouldn't that be amazing? Absolutely. But it's supposed to be a grand challenge to veteran players, I suppose, so it does make sense that you wouldn't be able to bring any of those incredibly overpowered, literally one hit deals 99 damage items into the fight. Any extra damage here? Do I want to pick up the friendly bracelet, friendship bracelet, whatever the hell it's called, or the kite? Kite is fantastic. Kite means that I won't have to use blades. I can just chill. I do like that a lot. And then I still have enough money to cap out the dagger while buying this as a slight damage increase. Moving on. Here's my proof. Let's go. Into the fight. I do like Flame Breath a whole lot better than Blazing Lariat, but I'll keep it on the bench because at least I can use Blazing Lariat into these shadowy, annoying-ass balls spurring across the entirety of the arena. Keep the zoo up! Let me spam! Come on, boy! My kids are dying! I need to feed my children! No, that one time over the entirety of the run that I could actually manage to charge up a signature. God damn it. Come on, Sora. Really? Really? Oh, man. I should have probably done phase 3, but yeah, I would have been destroyed. I'm very bad at phase 3. I've only beaten it once, and I really don't want to go back there ever again. It's quite unfun to me. There is even less counterplay than against the regular Sora, so yeah, not doing that anytime soon. Woo! That was a blast to play. Really loved it. That was the pinnacle of summons. Really, that's as good as it gets. Just run a chaotic pendulum. This is not nearly the same as just running a double toil. This is insanity. It doesn't double your cooldown reduction. It puts 75% additive cooldown reduction onto what is already there, your 0%. Double toil by itself doesn't do a lot. If you have like 30% cooldown reduction already, first of all, how did you get that much? Second of all, in that case, double toil will be insane. But it's not the cooldown reduction thing to break your build. It just doubles what is already there. So chaotic is, in many ways imaginable, a much more powerful, much more busted, broken, and unbalanced item. But we are here to have fun. We don't care about balance. Also, for the record, 3 charges of Allah's Glass Kite left, because when you get hit once, and it procs, it has 5 charges innately, it grants you invulnerability for a short period of time, a rather long period of time if you have plenty of damage. So, insanely broken. Get hit 5 times, or rather get hit like 20 times for free item. Mwah! Fantastic. Really love this build. Very fun time. Absolutely. Mwah! Just can only recommend picking this up. If you ever manage to find a full legendary library, let me know. And then also get the Cursed Book, because I've only recently learned that it doesn't stack with any of these. Maybe it stacks with a full legendary library. I'm not sure. I doubt it though. I hate the fact that you can stack a cursed item with this. But it makes sense, just thematically. Even though I would argue that a transformation would also make sense. So if the cursed item would just combine with any of the library parts to become an uncursed item, like the Perfect Time Crystal, for example. Or any other combinational item, like the Magician's outfit, the Vampire's outfit, attire, whatever the hell it's called, and so on and so forth. So would have loved that. If you ever manage to do that, please shoot me a message, let me know somehow. My god, mad props to you. I have never seen that in my life. I think it's incredibly unlikely to ever occur, unless using some sort of cheat or just looping 99 times. Of course, I'm over-exaggerating here a little bit, but I don't generally like looping. It makes a run that is already exhausting to explain and comment just that much more complicated to follow. And also on the loop, everything is much faster and more vicious, and things are just so much more brutal, including the Sora fight. So I would much rather prefer just running a singular run, how the game was intended to be played, I should put. And just see what I can get a hold of, see what new techniques I can pick up. Because the second you start looping, a lot of builds break. Even builds like this one, which otherwise, right now, at this current point in time, might seem overpowering. But give it another dungeon or two, and you're just gonna view your health bar decline immediately. And your damage, especially. Even though you already have double toil, you have decent damage increases. Nothing here is unconditional. Everything has some kind of condition or downside, with the exception of a Chaos Scanner, but that's a minute increase, or a Friendship Bracelet, again, minute increase to your overall power. This is not going to matter on a loop or multiple loops, even. So, a little bit of an expedition here, why I don't do looping currently, even with builds like this one, which could absolutely win at least the first loop without any sort of issue. as is. We could probably just continue with this one. But I'm not going to be doing it. I just don't feel like it's super entertaining. It's not super fun to me either. I don't think it's fun to the majority of people. They just want to have a quick, fun adventure. And that is absolutely what we did do today, in my opinion. So I hope you enjoyed today's build, even if summoning builds are not your cup of tea. I know what that feels like. I used to be there too, but again, I like to think that summon builds are the exception in this game. They allow for you to be a lot more lazy than you otherwise would be. They take the focus off of the action part and the skill part and the improving part and more onto the relaxation part. Just watching enemies interact in funny ways with your summons and struggle against them and just help them out occasionally. It's entirely different. It's like a supportive gameplay style almost. So these are the players and you are just an item, kind of, supporting them occasionally. Like a stone, like a sprite, like a fairy, like a pixie, whatever you want to call them. I do like that a lot. It's a great change. I do believe I still have 1 or 2 summoning builds here, so hold on tight with me. This is not the final one that I'm going to be presenting to you, even though it is the flashiest, and as I said, this is the pinnacle of summoning builds. This is as cool as they can ever be, in my opinion. I had 3 summons too. Technically also found 2 more Seekers, but Seekers are not agents, so very fun though, very fun. Hope you had a great time, and as per usual, you know how it goes, you know how it is. I wish you all a good morning, a good day, or a good night, wherever you are. And until next time, have a good time. Bye bye.